Let's just dive right in, shall we? Because there is this huge myth about learning languages that holds so many of us back. And today, we're going to bust that myth wide open. It turns out, you might just be a language genius in disguise.
I mean, have you ever felt that? You put in the hours, you're staring at the flashcards, you try your absolute best, but the words they don't stick. It's this super frustrating feeling, and it's right at the heart of the myth we're tackling today.
And this just says it all, doesn't it? On one hand, there's you. You've studied for years, you actually know the grammar rules, and on the other hand, you've got a 5-year-old native speaker who has studied for exactly 0 days, and they're the one correcting your grammar. It feels completely backwards.
Right? It's just not fair. You did all the work, but the little kid is the one who sounds fluent. And this is the exact moment that makes us all think, oh, kids are just magic language sponges and I've lost that ability. But what if the whole comparison is just wrong?
Okay, so get this. This slide changes everything. That 5-year-old, she's been immersed in her language for about 15,000 hours. Your 4 years of high school Spanish, that's maybe 200 hours of actual exposure. When you look at the real numbers, the whole picture just flips on its head.
And here it is, the big idea for this whole explainer, straight from Gabriel Weiner. We, as adults, are actually better at learning languages. We're smarter. We have all these sophisticated ways of learning things. See, the kids only have one advantage that really matters: a ton of time. So the question isn't can we learn, it's how can we learn way more efficiently.
So to figure out a better way, we first have to understand why the old ways just don't work. Let's look at a classic case study in just total frustration and forgetting. And I'm guessing this is going to sound a little too familiar.
So this was actually Gabriel Weiner's own journey. 7 years of Hebrew and all he could do was read the alphabet. 5.5 years of Russian and he was left with maybe 40 words. So of course the logical conclusion was, well, I'm just not a language person. Sound familiar? But the problem wasn't him, it was the method.
So if classroom memorization is a total dead end, what actually works? Well, let's get into the brain science of it all, because there's a secret to creating memories that are practically impossible to forget.
All right, let's try a little experiment. On the left, we've got the Hungarian word for camera, fényképezőgép. Yeah. On the right, a made-up word, moktor. Now, I am willing to bet that by the end of this, you will have completely forgotten one, and you will remember the other for the rest of your life. Let's find out why.
Okay, picture this. You're on an adventure with your best friend. You walk into this old, dusty bar somewhere in Scandinavia, and the bartender is an absolute Viking. Red beard, the whole deal. He pulls out this strange bottle with one word on it, moktor, and he pours this thick, greenish-brown liquid into a shot glass.
And then things get really weird. He adds a little scoop of something that smells like rotten fish. Suddenly the whole bar turns and starts chanting, "Moktor, Moktor." Then he lights the drink on fire. Your friend, because they're your friend, just slams it back. And now everyone is just staring at you, holding your own little glass of green fire.
So here's the point of all that. You will remember the word moktor forever. It's now tied to this whole crazy story, to all these emotions and senses. Meanwhile, what was that Hungarian word again? Yeah, exactly. It's already gone.
And this is exactly how memory works. Moktor stuck because it wasn't just a word. It was a whole web of connections. You had sounds, images, smells, and some pretty strong emotions, all tied into a personal story. The Hungarian word was just, text on a screen. It had no connections, so your brain had nothing to grab onto.
Okay, so if the key is creating these rich, multi-sensory connections, how do we do that on purpose? Without having to find a Viking bartender every time. How do we actually hack our own brains to learn vocabulary efficiently?
The main tool here is something called a spaced repetition system, or SRS. Think of it like a super smart flashcard app. And here's the magic. Its algorithm literally figures out the exact moment you're about to forget something, and then it shows you that card. By forcing your brain to recall it right then, you make the memory way stronger. It is an incredibly efficient way to learn.
But, and this is a huge but, the tool is only as good as how you use it. If you just make simple translation cards, Chet on one side and cat on the other, you're not building any of those rich molecular-style connections. You're just back to the same old, boring classroom method that doesn't work.
So here's the smarter way, the brain-based method. Let's say you want to learn the French word for dog, chien. Step 1. Do not look up the translation. Instead, you do a Google image search for the word chien. You'll get all these pictures of very French-looking dogs. Just pick one that's funny or memorable to you, and make that the front of your flashcard. You're immediately creating a way stronger visual connection than just the word dog.
So, does this whole thing actually work? Well, using this exact method, Weiner went from knowing zero French to testing into an advanced third-year university course in just 3 months. 3. That's the power of ditching translation and building real sensory connections instead. It's a game changer.
So what this all comes down to really is a fundamental shift in how you see things. A new language isn't some abstract code you have to crack. It's a brand new tool for telling stories. Your stories.
And this is the perfect way to think about it. Grammar rules, they're not just these arbitrary laws you have to memorize. They're the structures that let you talk about your past, your dreams for the future, your weird adventures in Scandinavian bars. They give your story its shape.
So let's just quickly recap the big ideas here. First, and you gotta believe this, you are built to be a better language learner than a kid. Second, your brain learns through connection, not just mindless repetition. So to make words stick, you have to give them images, sounds, feelings, and stories. And the most practical thing you can do right now, ditch those boring translation flashcards and start making visual, personal ones.
At the end of the day, learning a language opens up this whole new world of people to connect with and stories to experience. It gives you a new voice. So the real question isn't whether you can learn a new language, it's what new stories are you going to learn to tell once you do.